Cradle fans. I'm just so happy to be here today. Okay, so why am I addressing you in this way? Well, this is the official 2020 coronavirus Wintersteel lost bet video that I am soul bound to deliver to you at some date in time. I've chosen this date and time because if I keep putting it off, I'll never do it because I don't want to do it. And last time I did this, I stopped making YouTube videos for 6 months. So the last time that I did a lost bet video, it led to no content for 6 months. So the longer I put this off, the longer it will be until I make videos. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to freeball it. All you get is my face, my browser. We're not doing slides. I will reference the book. I will maybe reference one or two things that I've typed out. But for the most part, it's just going to be me talking about the things I'm forced to talk about because I lost a bet. So most of the community is aware of this by now, but a few of us like to make bets regarding what will happen in the upcoming books. I have lost 66% of the bets that I've made. Last year, I made one bet with Little Blue, and that bet turned into me being forced to explain on the internet why Lindon would make a good escort. I did that, and I did it well. And now I am required to analyze an event that shouldn't have ever happened. But before we get to the event, it's the kiss on the last page of the book. I'm going to discuss with you the history of Will's romantic writing thoughts to really get down to the nitty-gritty of why we got here and how Little Blue set me up. I will do your analysis, Blue. I will do it. I will do it. However, I'm also going to clap back a smidge and walk through how we got here because it goes back a ways. Will, I applaud you for resisting the writing of romance for 4 years. I've struggled to resist doing this video for a month and a half, but you resisted for 4 years. So bravo to you, my friend. Although you still put the kiss on the last page. And that's what I bet against. I don't really know what to say other than damn it. So what I actually have to do for this video is I have to do at least 5 minutes of analysis on the kiss. And I've got some thoughts. Also, I lost another bet, which requires me to discuss the romantic possibilities of Lindon and talk to how they could actually be a thing. I'm going to try and do that, but I think that if the person I lost the bet to thinks that I didn't do it justice, I'm just going to pay you money. I'm going to buy you off to buy myself out of the bet because I don't want to do another one of these. But I will try to talk through the faded romantic potential of Lindon across all of the romantic partners he could potentially have had. So what I'm going to do now, I'm not editing this video at all. So all the pain, all the suffering that some of you are so desperate for, you're just going to get it. What I am going to do is turn this view off. Ooh, whoops. Yeah, I'm going to turn this view off. I'm going to move this over here. That way you can see my face. And you can see all my tabs too. I don't really like that. Kissing someone much taller than you. Strategy. Yes. Yes, that's a part of this analysis. But first, we start. Actually, this isn't where we start. We start on the blog. Hold on, I'm going to move all this stuff out into tabs. pull these, wait, no, I want to pull all 4 of them out. Pull them out. All right. The Ancestors of Cradle. Blog archives. Okay, there's a point to this. There really is a point. But first, I need to make sure that's gone. And then, okay, just gonna drag this into here. And I may look unprepared, but I'm super prepared. All right, so the history of where romance came from with regards to Will. It goes back to a Soulsmith critic review from 2016. Now, you have to write a romance this time, Will. You can't avoid it. Don't hang up on 2016. 4 years later-ish, he finally succumbs to a blatant kissing scene on page in his book. Blatant. And in fact, I'm going to show you something else. I hope I still have it. Oops. House of Blades. Oh no. Look at all those vampire novels from way back when that Megan read. It was definitely Megan that read them. It wasn't me. All right, so what we're doing is we're going to the title page, the dedication. To my sister Rebecca, whose nagging skills are the stuff of legend. It is hilarious that this was his dedication in his first book, because those same nagging skills that were the stuff of legend led to this kissing scene that has led to this video. So, to Rebecca, to Will, to Sam. I don't know why I'm dedicating this to you, Sam, but I'm dedicating this to you, and to Little Blue, whose name I will never say for real. This video is dedicated to you. All right. Then we go to the Aberdeen Archive, and we search romance. And this is where it gets interesting. Questioner, what is your view on a possible Lindon x Yerin romance? All of the reasons listed in this conversation, all of the reasons listed in this conversation are reasons why I don't like writing romance. It's usually paced out, blah, 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 blah. They're my greatest weakness. I don't dislike it as a reader. It's just hard as a writer. So what I'm trying to do is lay the foundation for a romance by creating 2 likable characters who care for each other and have spent a lot of time together. So he didn't want to do it. And then, number 1 perpetrator, Little Blue, you should definitely address romance in your books. And Will's like, shut up. And then Little Blue's like, I need an awkward Will protagonist date in my life. This was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Blue's like, please give me a date. I read books fast, and I give you good feedback, and I am an admin in the Discord, and I'm a special snowflake, so you should include a date in the book, and then lead it to a kiss so I can make Bamp hate himself. And then Will's like, just kidding, I know you're right, and it's going in. I have to practice to learn how to use it effectively, and the only way I practice is through live fire exercise. Everything that happens to Lindon and or Simon results in awkwardness. Just like the awkwardness of this stupid video. Little Blue, Lindon. So, oh, that's Little Blue trying to be funny. That's not Will's favorite. He lied to you, Blue. Will apparently asked, what do you want to see in Skysworn? And someone, of course, was like, maybe adding some romantic relationships. Blah, blah, blah. And then Will explains why it's a bad idea, and I agree with him. And then, of course, Little Blue comes in again with his Little Blueness. Lindon and Yerin go on an educational dream tablet viewing date. And then Will's like, I know I've said this a lot, but it bears repeating. The main reason I don't do this is because it's dumb. He doesn't. I'm paraphrasing, but you can go do this yourself. There's there's so much here that is like, maybe you shouldn't do romance, but alas, we come to the final page. That is not the final page. That is the end of the prologue. We come to... Why am I bad at Kindle today? we come to the moment, the fated moment in which I could not enjoy the end of this book because I was dumb and made a vote, or I made a bet that they would not kiss. And then on the last page of the book, the part of the book that's supposed to be like, this was so great, I get gut punched because apparently I don't believe in love. I mean, it's great because even the scene was written to be like, don't kiss her. Don't. And yet, there were dozens of strangers around. Not to mention people that actually knew them. But Yerin no longer cared. She grabbed him by the back of the head, stood up on her tiptoes, and kissed him. This line, I'm actually going to have to super analyze because Blue wanted me to ask a question that I'm going to have to answer here. So now we're getting into the analysis. It is 11 minutes into this. This is going to be a long video of pain. I need to hurry up. 11 minutes into the video, I'm now doing my analysis. So at 16 minutes into the video, we can stop it. So we're analyzing a kissing scene, and we're analyzing what led up to the kissing scene, and we're analyzing the techniques involved, the sacred arts of kissing involved, and how awkward it was. All right, so what makes this the most awkward, and I'm actually going to get serious here for a minute, is that Lindon is, from what we know, a virgin in every sense of the word. He's never been on a date. He's never had a romantic love interest because he couldn't. It was like a thing he was not allowed to have because he was unsold in Sacred Valley. And then ever since he's left, he's been on this frantic climb to save his home. He ain't got no time for love. Okay, despite what Ethan might think. But the person that leads him out of Sacred Valley, the person that helps teach him the basics of the sacred arts with regards of how to advance to copper, with regards of how to stay alive, teaching him how to do striker techniques, things like that, happens to be the person that he's most attracted to in the end. She, however, also has never had a love interest, and she solves problems by cutting them apart. So there's been some tension all along the way because they've been competing to see who can work harder. She's way better at the sacred arts than him. He's an awkward, super tall, angry looking dude who had the power of a toddler for most of his life. So they're not exactly the most compatible with regards to similarities, but opposites attract, and over time they've gotten to this point. However, Lindon is, I think, 6'7", and Yerin is not that tall. I think she comes up to his chest, so he's over a foot taller than her. With that being said, that begs a question: how could someone who's so much shorter stand up on just their tiptoes and kiss them, and kiss someone? It's not that hard, Blue. The physics are not that hard. And then if you throw magic in there, it's still not even that hard. Maybe she stood up on her tiptoes while floating on a bit of wind aura. She's an overherald now. It should be pretty easy. Maybe she reached around and used her spider claws to pull herself up and then just pretended to be on her tiptoes. Maybe she phased into her spiritual self and she has super long toes because her spirit can extend. Who knows? But in reality, I go to Google. I go to Waggle. This is the search engine for the way. Kissing someone much taller than you. Strategy. Stand on your tiptoes is the number one goal. But also, I'm not going to act this out, but if someone grabs your head, okay, even if, first of all, if you're 6'7", your lips are probably 6'2". He's got lips that are 6'2", okay? So, and if Yerin, if she stands up on her tiptoes, that gives her, 4 inches? So she goes from 5'7" to 5'11", okay? So there's a 3-inch difference. There's a 3-inch gap there, okay? Well, maybe if she reaches up, grabs him by the back of the neck, tilts his head down, that solves for your 3 inches. Maybe she extended her neck, she used that steel-born iron neck of hers to really, reach for it. Plus, she's super strong, so maybe she's not stronger than him. I think she's still stronger than him, even though he's got strength. Also, this video that you can see that I clicked on, exclamation mark lewd. I don't recommend. It actually does showcase what I'm talking about and like shows how like the difference works. But yeah, I need to get away from this right now. All right, so we're going back to the kiss. So that's how this works, okay? You reach up, she kisses him, which is perfect because she's been the go-getter. She's the empowered one. She just won a tournament. She can now teleport at will. She's an overherald. And she wanted to kiss him twice in this book. Once on their first date, and then again when she's on the same platform that they're on now, which is kind of a fun parallel. This is her second opportunity to kiss him on this like cloud ship platform. The first time all the sages were around. This time all the sages are around and plus more people. And she's just like, I don't care. I just combined with a wild spirit that used to like to ravage things and consume them. So I've got confidence now. This is another fun fact, is that Lindon isn't kissing just Yerin. He's kissing the ruby empowered version of Yerin that is not so one-dimensional. Okay? So Yerin now has these memories of holding Lindon's hand and not feeling as alone in the world, of protecting the thing that's most important to her when he's been knocked out by a dread god. Like things that are so core to who Yerin is, but in just a raw format that doesn't have the built-in rejection bias of living a life of just pure combat, like without true love or without, true companionship. So it is a beautiful thing, even though it made me want to punch myself in the face. Just because like I didn't want to root against this. This is beautiful. Like this is what Lindon and Yerin need to get through to the next level. They're going to be relying on each other as they advance. And, the whole team dynamic is going to be super important. And with regards to willpower, with regards to resolve, with regards to grit, with regards to exercising your authority, man, you put Lindon in danger, Yerin's going to real quick be able to manifest that shield icon as she starts to protect him and be his shield and protect the people of Sacred Valley, his people. It's a great combiner going forward. Plus, it's going to be super awkward when Lindon gets to introduce her to his parents. Hi, Mom. We just saved you. This is Yerin, my companion in the arts, the romantic arts. I don't even know if they call each other boyfriend, girlfriend. And a lot of, in the one actual Chinese wuxia zhangxiu that I've read, they call each other Dao companions. So maybe they'll have like, this is my sacred companion. But anyway, this kiss is so great because Yerin initiates it and she does it with passion. And then Lindon is like, oh shit, everyone's all around. But then he finally is just like, screw it. She's more important than the opinions of others. I don't need to worry about how others view me as much anymore. I'm much more self-aware now. I'm so self-aware that I manifested an icon. So I'm an undersage. I'm now qualified to kiss a girl. So he reacts in stunned surprise for a moment. And this is actually an interesting line because it like merges their perspectives. So he reacts with stunned surprise for a moment, and fear rises up from a deep part of her, worrying that he was going to push her away again. Ooh, bittersweet. Which makes the next part, so this is actually a really well-written scene in my opinion, because she takes the initiative, she kisses him, okay? She breaks the boundaries of physics, getting her lips down from the depths of the abyss up into the, into the heavens where his face is because he's so tall. She breaks the boundaries of reality to kiss him. And then, while she's kissing him, she has terror, right? So her feeling goes way down. And then he leaned in, wrapped his arms around her, and kissed back. So now he embraces it. So she's down here while kissing him still. And so now there's like a huge contrast from bad to good, from like terror to elation, that makes this kiss so much more memorable. So pretty well written scene from a guy who spent 4 years avoiding this exact scene. In fact, I don't know, Will, if you were writing this particular scene when you made that tweet about being scared of writing romance, or asking your sister how to write romance, and she's just like, well, just do it. You did a good job. I hate that I have to talk about this and give this kind of compliment to you, but hey, you did a good job. So Zeal jumps in, being his awkward self. Where are we going? We're going home. We're going home. Also, this is a good little bit because it parallels. It's a reverse perspective that parallels what we saw before. Yerin was gratified to see that Lindon was red-faced and focused on his own cycling. After Lindon asked her out on a date, he noticed that she was focused on her own cycling, trying not to lose her shit. So that was also a cool little flashback moment, perspective swap, followed by the whole like, we're going home. We're going home to learn about Lindon's secret bloodline that I'm not going to talk about because it's not the video for it. I refuse to enjoy this. All right, so I did more than 5 minutes of analysis on this blue, you asshole. These are some good books here that y'all can look into when you have the free time. All right, now I have to move on to the next part, and I'm actually going to pause this while I collect myself. All right, we're back. I don't know how I'm going to do the next part of this video, so it will be cringy. If you are satisfied with the contents of the video thus far, you can leave, because the rest of this I'm going to just make up as I go along, sort of. All right. Like I said, I've thought this through in my head, but I didn't write any notes, really. I didn't make any slides. I'm not going to guide myself through it. I'm just going to make it up as I go along. Content for the internet. This is just going to be just the best. All right. Information requested. Information requested. I did take a little. Information requested. The romantic history of Akura Weishi Lindon Aurelius III, Esquire. Synchronization set at 69%. Synchronization or synchronized question mark? Yes. Beginning report. Weishi Lindon Aurelius has been the most eligible bachelor for every woman he's come across. He was fated to get married in a place of the world where he was not allowed to get married. And yet, because of his impressive stature, even he was destined to have at least one woman in his life that wanted to marry him. Lo and behold, fate gets changed. By who? The most powerful woman in existence. She picked Lindon out of a crowd of dying people based on his potential. Not as a sacred artist. Lindon's terrible at the sacred arts, but as a man. And not as the man that he is, but as the man that he could be. Not only did Suriel pick him out of the crowd, she gave him her cosmic phone number and told him when he comes of age, she'll come find him. She'll come get him. But little did Suriel know that when she changed this boy's fate, she was changing the fate of the whole world. Because a romance was brewing, the likes of which not even she could read the fate into. So she sends poor Lindon on a quest to meet his true love, a true love that he would not fully manifest until book 4. Who do you think it is? So Lindon goes forth on this quest, meets a poor girl named Yerin, and gets a hint that his true love is nearby. But he cannot find her. He does not know where she is, and so he decides to tag along with this violent girl who just lost her master, who likes to cut things and poke people, and tries to learn the sacred arts from her. But alas, when they moved through the dark, destroyed, gross forests of the world, they encounter an all too feminine man. And all of a sudden, fate changes again. Synchronization terminated. Fate out of line. Suggestive topic: Lindon's potentially fated romances with Jai Chen, Blairin, Big Red, the Scarlet Dipper, Ruby, Akura Mercy, Akura Grace, Akura Malice, Akura Lust, Akura Chastity, Akura Persistence, Akura Prudence, Akura Just Say No, Akura Temperance, Akura Kama Sutra, Akura Destiny, ... plus 2,783 results. Would you like to continue? Report denied. Proceed to Sector 4, Iteration 420-69, Designation Voyeur. The Abadan homeworld for the Spider and Hound subdivision, the Hound Dog Creepers. Please proceed at once. Would you like to proceed to Sector 4, Iteration 420-69, Designation Voyeur? You would? Okay. 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 Let's go.
For ludicrous speed, fasten all seatbelts, seal all entrances and exits, close all shops in the mall, cancel the three-ring circus, secure all animals in the zoo.
Give me that, you petty excuse for an officer. Now hear this. Ludicrous speed.
Sir, hadn't you better buckle up?
Buckle this. Ludicrous speed. Go!
We'll arrive after going.
What have I done? My brains are going into my feet.
What the hell was that? Spaceball 1. They've gone to plaid.
We
Welcome to Sector 4, Iteration 420-69, Designation Voyeur. It is time for me to move on with this part of the video. So you would like to learn about Serial's favorite, Lindon, Akura Weishi Lindon Aurelius III, Esquire, and his romantic interest with his fated true love across all different fates and deviations, post Machiel's changing of Cradle's fate to get him out? Okay, we'll do it. I told you about the beginning, about after Serial changed his fate. He knew that his true love was on the horizon. He just couldn't find her. He couldn't sense her. She hadn't fully manifested herself yet. Well, now, because you've requested this information, I take you to the part where she first manifests herself, when she gets a hold of Lindon for the first time, and he gets a hold of her, and they realize that there's something more going on here. I take you to Chapter 17 of Skysworn. The Blood Shadow wanted it, so she was going to stop it, because Yerin doesn't want anyone to find love. She almost lost her grip on it when something drove a hole into her Madra, but lucky for her, the shadow itself took the brunt of that hit, It was stunned just as much as she was, so she kept a hold. In fact, for a moment, she had the upper hand. Then something started pulling. The arms of a savior. Arms of blood magic wrapped around Lindon's pale right arm. They stuck as though they were covered in suckers, and the magic burned where it made contact. Being a remnant arm, it felt like burning his spirit, burning with love. More like burning his spirit than burning his body. But it was an ache all its own. Oh my gosh, the passionate romance that is budding here. His magic channels, already strained by what he'd done with the 1,000-mile cloud. What did you do, Lindon? Felt like like tendons on the brink of tearing. The arm was already Okay, let's move on. But it was working. The technique embedded in his arm had fastened itself to the heart of his future love. And he was pulling it away from Yerin. Pulling it away so that he could have her for himself. It peeled back inch by inch as he stretched his spirit to its limit. He does a lot of stretching his spirit to its limit to save his favorite spirits. He did it with Dross. He reopened a portal. In Wintersteel, spoiler alert, the binding had released a vortex of white light, which was meant to devour the shadow, but the parasite fought to feed on the arm instead. It's their first time meeting. They're going to have a confused and awkward first date, okay? They were stuck together as though nailed by fate, by destiny, but Lindon couldn't pull the shadow the last few inches. There was still a short tether connecting the blood shadow to her core. A crash came from Kindle as I went the wrong way. A crash came from the door as a blood spawn exploded through and into the room. The rest of its brood followed, only to meet Mercy's vast black web. Lindon was out of time. He had just met his true love, and he didn't know what to make of her. With one last... What did I just do? All right. Sorry, we haven't had a visitor to Sector 4, Iteration 420-69, Designation Voyeur. We do all the watching. People don't typically come and ask us what's up. All right, so with one last wrenching effort, he pulled the blood shadow free. Yerin's body shuddered and shrunk back to the ground limp. Her chest was heaving, which led him to let out a sigh of relief. His one other concern had been that pulling the parasite free would somehow kill her. Her being the parasite. But no, he didn't kill his future love. He had released her for the first time. The spiritual parasite was hissing and snarling and burbling like a boiling cauldron. She was just trying to improve her existence so she could tell him how she really felt. Its body inflated to twice its original size so that it was now more like Yerin's size. In fact, exactly Yerin's size. All right. This was their first fated meeting, but it would not be their last. In fact, there are more as their love progressed throughout the years until it manifested finally in a kiss. A kiss that will one day be reviewed by a poor Earth human who doesn't want to review it. But now we must move on. So I will pause time so I can get there. We have arrived. We have arrived at the moment. The first flirtation. This is a big deal to mortal humans. Before Lindon could ask Mercy to grab Yerin's sword, the blood shadow appeared next to him. It looked into his eyes, and it was like he could see a spark of the real Yerin. It was unnerving. He tipped his head to her. He wasn't exactly how to address this parasitic spirit that he couldn't hide his emotional feelings for. But it was best to be polite. He must be a gentleman after all. Thank you for your help, he said. The blood shadow smiled again, gave him a wink, and then crumpled. It coiled into a rope of red light and slithered back into Yerin's spirit. Had it really winked at him? And it was at this point that a seed of hope implanted itself into Lindon's soul and began to grow. It would be a tree of true love. We will now pause time again and move forward so we can watch this love progress. You may now cringe, if you really must. We move forward in time, to a time very close to the present time. The time in which his true love has a name. Not only has a name, but has a perspective and a point of view. Ruby shifted from foot to foot impatiently. Come on, let's go to Lindon. She'd been wary of the way the shadow looked at Lindon for a long while now. Was that something Ruby had developed on her own? Or was it some embarrassing reflection of Yerin herself? It's true love. It's fated Yerin, and you can't stop it. Definitely on her own, she decided. We can't bring him back, Yerin said firmly. You think I give one burnt hair about that? We can train with him. That would be all flowers and rainbows if that were possible, but it's not. We have to train with the bridge, and we can't blah, 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 blah. And then Ruby gets down to the brass tacks. You don't need me for that. And so suddenly, that Yerin was caught off guard, the moonlight bridge in Yerin's spirit activated. She tried to wrestle control back, but in a flash of sparking white light, Ruby was gone. This is the second time a flash of sparking white light has led to Ruby getting to see her true love again. Yerin felt emptier, as though a big chunk of her spirit had vanished, and left her alone in her room, holding a half-eaten pear. Well, my friend, that's what you get for waiting. You get passed up. And then we have contact. He shook himself out of his trance to realize that Ruby was standing right up against him, looking up. Her chin touched his chest. Thank you, Ruby, for giving the mortal human that appeared at the beginning of this video the physics to understand how to make the kiss happen. Then we move on. But first we must pause time so I can find it. And now we get to the moment where Ruby realizes that she made the right choice in picking her one true love. Why don't you take the bed, Ruby? Lindon suggested. I don't mind staying on the floor. If you need to sleep, I mean. What a gentleman. Lindon himself intended only to rest for an hour or two, then head out to work on soulsmithing. He knew blah, 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 blah. Ruby was still warily eyeing Little Blue, who stood like a guard dog between him and the blood shadow. I know, Lindon, he's such a player. Don't leave, you hear me? She didn't want to be parted from her true love. I'm going to take a nap myself, right here on the floor. Such a gentleman. He didn't want there to be any confusion. Okay? Lust would not tarnish this love. Ruby curled up into a ball over the blankets. If it looks like I'm going to slip back into her spirit, you'd stop me, true? You'll have to go back eventually. 2 days, she sighed. Still got 2 whole days. Mortal humans and their love. It's so beautiful. And the story doesn't end here. And now we get to the part where Ruby is so sure of her feelings for Lindon that she starts to get possessive. That's never happened in a romance before. Ruby linked an arm around Lindon's elbow. I have a question, Mercy said, with her hand in the air. Do you like being on your own? Ruby nodded. It's me and her now, not all us. She squeezed Lindon's arm, and he sensed more fear in the gesture than anything else. Now I have something for me. Super possessive. First signs of toxic relationship brewing. Hopefully they can nip that in the bud before too long. All right, we're going to pause time again and move forward. It's rare in a relationship where one partner gets to truly defend the other from death, certain death. But on iteration 110 Cradle, this is very common. It is very dangerous. People die all the time, especially when you try and poke a dread god. Those tend to kill lots of people. So here we have true love protecting itself from the wrath of a partial memory sliver of a sleeping dread god. Lindon fought his way back to awareness as though struggling on the surface amid the storm-tossed waves. He was lying on his back. He tasted blood. Dross was screaming at him. and yet he could still see his Ruby, standing over him with her teeth bared, her gold signs extended, a fence of blood and sword aura shredding anything that came close, protecting the man of her dreams, and slowly building her protective authority so that she may one day manifest the shield icon. Dun dun dun. We will pause time again and move forward once more as we track this love story from the beginning to its present middle, because it is a love that never ends. And every once in a while, when true love manifests, the emotions become so overpowering that one partner backs out. They want what's safe, not what's... They want what is safe, not what is right. And humans are so common to do this. And we'll read about a moment that could potentially have meant everything, that was torn away. Lindon looked into Ruby's eyes, and he remembered his worry for the other woman. At some point in the next few hours, she was going into battle. Saying goodbye to her felt too much like saying goodbye to the mistress. "Don't worry about us," he assured Ruby. "You will bury her." Ruby gave him a familiar smile. "I look worried to you?" And then she leaned in close, and Lindon had an uncomfortable premonition. Sure enough, she went on tiptoes to kiss him. However, she didn't have the right technique. She didn't put her hands behind his neck. She failed. And because she failed, she got rejected. Poor, poor, poor Ruby. Ruby gave him a familiar smile. "I look worried to you?" Then she leaned in close, and Lindon had an uncomfortable premonition. Sure enough, I read this already. "You're not Yerin." Oof. Ruby dropped back down. For a second, she shifted her weight from one foot to the other, and then she nodded. "No, I'm not. I'm me." Which is super bittersweet because it's a moment of self-realization, self-identity, but also rejection. Tough. Oh, that was cruel. Just shattering a spirit's heart right before the biggest fight of her life. You're not going to do that to me, are you? Don't try to kiss me. Oof. Such a player. Such a player. How did he not end up with a harem? How did he not end up with a harem? In fact, I will show you how he did almost end up with a harem. He did. Actually, let's see. I'm getting myself sidetracked on purpose here. Y'all should go check this out. It's hilarious. Cradle romance hashtags. Questioner. Lindon should have a harem. By now, Mercy, Yerin, Little Blue, Gesha, Serial, all the Akuras, every single Akura, and even Orthos, who should be female according to this questioner, should date him and be in his harem. And he's even worthy of Naru, whatever her name is. Damn, I forgot. Man, being an immortal Albadon is hard. Well, White, snarky harem comment repost that y'all should go read. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But now we move back to the love story at hand. We've only been recording for 43 minutes. This is the longest video ever. No one will watch all of this, and that's the point. No one will get this far, and it'll be awesome. Everyone will bounce out after about 5 minutes, and I won't have to hate my life. All right, we're moving on with this love story. This poor, unfortunate love story. I'm going to pause time so I can go find the right part. After being separated from Ruby and fighting for his life and hearing about how Ruby was fighting for hers and the fate of the whole planet, they're reunited at last in a basement of rubble in a tower with a bloody mentor on the floor. Yerin finally pried herself away from the questions of the sages, only to find Lindon. I indexed the wrong thing. We're fast forwarding a little bit to after they are already safe. She remembered running up to him as Ruby, throwing her arms and legs around him. She braced herself for embarrassment. It never came. Why did she care about a bunch of what outsiders thought? Now that Ruby has brought the better parts of her personality into Yerin, Yerin is a more compatible life partner. And one would say that Yerin is actually truly Ruby, where Ruby just humanized herself and took on the good aspects of Yerin and got rid of the bad aspects of herself, like being a pure hunger and blood spirit that had previously been hell-bent on slaughtering everybody. You know, self-improvement is important to humans, people. He looked down on her, eyes clouded. Ruby? Ruby? Only a little, she responded. He thought about that, and his expression grew complicated. She understood. She didn't know how she'd feel about it either, if she were in his position. Now Lindon knew the only way he could truly be with both his mistress and with his true love Ruby is to be with them now that they are one person. How convenient is that? Plot armor for the romance. Gotta love whatever machination of Adriel put this together. If only we could find Adriel and create new iterations out of a whole cloth. We could have more epic romances like this. Ooh. Just as they requested after the first round of the tournament, this would be the perfect home for her. Not just her home. Their home. Their home being Yerin, Ruby, and Lindon. So beautiful. So beautiful. And then, of course, we move to the point where Ruby and Lindon finally consummate their love with a smooch at the very end. So this has been the retelling of the fated love story of Ruby and Lindon. The fate that should have been, that could have been. The fate that I had to discuss because I lost a bet with somebody, hoping that the bet was the Sage of 1,000 Eyes would not make her presence in the book. And of course she did for like 3 pages. You know, whatever. She's good in restoration, so she can get punched into a bloody smear and reform herself so that I can lose a bet and make up a fucking romance that Lindon had. I know y'all wanted me to pick Mercy. I know you wanted me to pick Grace. But we all know who the real hero is of this romantic journey. It's Ruby. And mainly I say that because I always wanted her name to be Ruby. And so now I got to say Ruby a whole bunch in an obnoxious video no one's going to watch a lot of. All right, so thank you for watching. I apologize to the audience, but mainly to myself for making the bad bets that I made and for being a failure at making bets. Thank you for watching. This is the longest video I've ever made, so you better consider it to be debts paid, bets paid up. I don't know how I feel now. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Never watch this video again. Don't watch the other Lost Bet video. Watch the stuff that matters. And journey on, soldier.